Ichigo Kurosaki. The main character of Bleach and one of my favorite anime characters in all of anime. When I think of Ichigo Kurosaki, I think of a guy who is extremely overpowered for various reasons, all of them mostly being one because of his own talent, but also because of the capabilities and the genetic superiority, for lack of a better word, he has in the verse. Like so many other anime characters we all know and love, like Goku, Luffy, and Gon, we have to take a look at Ichigo's parents, who play a very big part in his life and story, and who are kind of responsible for who he becomes in the anime. Let's get into his parents, Isshin and Masaki Kurosaki. In our first real look in the story at Isshin Kurosaki, we begin to realize just who he is and what he really means. A Soul Reaper captain who was charged with investigating a recent disturbance of extremely powerful hollows. Now, these hollows are no joke, specifically the one in question. This is a Vastalorde, or a hollow who has a humanoid form and can mimic the powers of a Soul Reaper. Now, what is very important to note this next character, who's Ichigo's mother, Masaki. She is a Quincy. Quincy's and Soul Reapers did not get along, but in this specific event, she goes out of her way to help Ichigo's dad because she knows that he's in danger. Now, because of this, the hollow we know as White is able to transfer his essence into Masaki. And I think the manga does a really good job of showing us this whole interaction. I mean, look at that hollow skull. That's peak drawing, peak animation in our manga as well, which is also how full brains come about, who are the children of adults or parents who have been attacked by hollows, right? So as you can understand from all of this, all of these factors come into play as they're all a part of Ichigo's soul, which we see here. I want you to really get into this soul chart. You begin to realize how broken Ichigo really is. He has full brain abilities, hollow ability, Quincy ability, Shinigami ability, as well as his Mugetsu, Zangetsu, Black Getsu, the Tensho mixed form, which is insanely strong. Not to mention the Vastalorde form he has in his back pocket. But what makes Ichigo Ichigo? When he and Uryu Ishida are first introduced to each other, you get this sense that, they're not really friends, they're not really enemies as much. They're just different. And I think the story goes out of its way to kind of highlight that in the beginning. Like, they really want you to know and understand that, hey, Ichigo's a Soul Reaper. Uryu is a Quincy. They're not the same thing. And, in the beginning, it's kind of cool to see, the little differences in her power. Like how Quincy's can make, weapons and bows out of blue light. And all of these Soul Reapers have different swords and different abilities that come with their swords. Really good writing, really good power scaling, in my opinion. But the importance of their meeting and their interactions is to kind of spark that feeling like, hey, maybe Quincy's aren't that bad. And over the progress of the story, the other characters adopt this same mentality as well, that, hey, maybe the Quincy's aren't that bad, maybe we had the wrong, idea of them before, of course, that was in Blood War. But you see it in the show, is what I'm saying, right? Like, once Ichigo starts becoming cool with Ishida, Uryu, everybody else kind of follows suit. It's kind of the same thing with the Visors, right? So the Visors used to be Soul Reapers. They used to be Soul Reaper captains and lieutenants, and they were really good at their job. But thanks to Aizen, or the Big Bad, all of that was cut short. And they're completely ostracized from the Soul Society, as well as the Gotha 13. And by this point in the series, when they finally meet Ichigo, he's struggling with the hollow inside, trying to understand his power that he's come into and how it doesn't do something about it, it's going to consume him, which obviously they know all too well about. And again, just like with Uryu, the story progresses and they start to become more and more out in the open. They start to interact more with Soul Reapers. They start to become accepted, which I don't think will be possible or would have been set in motion had it not been for Ichigo Kurosaki. Just like he did with Uryu and the Quincy that he is, he brought into the light the same thing with the Visors, who were, again, not messing with the Gotha 13, but here they are helping them fight, training Ichigo, who's a big part of their story, and you gotta give credit to that. Even in the later sagas, we see the hollows that Ichigo had fought coming to his aid when Dazir Blower arc begins, and the Quincy's from the past begin to attack with Yuha Bak. Even the pre-Verona Espadas, who only know Ichigo pretty much by name, well, I'm pretty sure none of them, I remember that wrong, but none of them fought Ichigo, but they're still there helping him out, supporting him. And I know that Yuha Bak and Aizen had agendas, but hear me out on this, right? Aizen was still lending aid to Ichigo in the fight versus Yuha, and Yuha had put a portion of his soul into Ichigo. Now, the question you might ask is, what exactly does this all mean? How does this all make Ichigo so strong? It's clearly plot armor. But I mean, yeah, he kind of has a little bit of it, but that's not the reason why, right? It's just, that's just how he's written. Ichigo is written in so many parts of the story as the hero. He's written as the savior. He's written as the symbol, the hope, which is why I call him the symbol. In the fight versus the Quincy's, the other Soul Reapers, the Hollows, the Visors, the Fullbrings, they're all there lending aid to Ichigo. Each of them have had a significant part of his story. I mean, just thinking about the history of Bleach and the lore it creates in its own story, about the war and the ostracization of the Visors and the constant fighting with the Hollows, to see them all united under a common goal, you only have to point that out due to one man, and you have to give credit where credit is due. I mean, the way Ichigo is written and the way that he just portrays this aspect of belief and this aspect of teamwork throughout the story just becomes more profound as it progresses. I don't think Bleach could have been written any better when it comes to the main character, because he fits it so well. And I just kind of my own headcanon, but I think that the reason why it's called Bleach is because Bleach stains, and like Ichigo kind of like stains everybody's life. It's kind of weird. But speaking of that little Bleach thing, I'm actually looking forward to this new chapter, or at least I hope it becomes its own side story of this whole fucking Hellverse thing. I mean, that's going to be pretty cool itself, make no mistake. And just the idea of Ichigo having a child who is literally the same thing as Ichigo was, and we're talking about Ichigo being overpowered, and it sounds the same thing, 2.0. That's going to be a really good read. Hopefully they don't drop the ball on this, but I mean, we'll see how it goes. When I think of people who are the glue for their anime, for their stories, Ichigo has to come up every single time. Because, again, look at all the characters introduced in the show. Every single character, major character, has some major type of relationship or connection to Ichigo. Look at Kenpachi Zaraki. Look at Captain Yamamoto. Look at Aizen. Look at Yuha. Look at Ishin. Look at Masaki. Look at Uryu. All of these characters are tied into Ichigo's life and Ichigo's story. And I mean, man, what a story it is. Your mother was a Quincy. Your father was a Soul Reaper. You have the spirit of a killer Quincy inside of you. You have a Hollow inside of you that also makes you a Fullbring. All of these things, all these aspects, that every single part of him becomes a major story arc in a story for a reason. That's not just something thrown together out of nowhere. That's plotted for purposes, for reasons. Even his final fight with Aizen is built up for a reason. Here is Aizen, this being who wants to become perfect, who wants to have no weaknesses, wants to fuse with power itself. And here is this anomaly that is Ichigo. He doesn't understand why Ichigo is Ichigo. He doesn't understand where all this power comes from. But what he doesn't realize is that Ichigo is literally what he's always wanted to be. Ichigo is everything and nothing. Ichigo is one and he's all. Ichigo is the sum of all of his parts. The saying, "It takes a village to raise a child," perfectly describes Bleach to me, in my opinion at least. The village being the world surrounding Ichigo. This 16-year-old kid who just out of nowhere ran into some random Soul Reaper girl, and then that spiraled his life into what we have today. This super being, super genetic, super awesome anime character who just is completely and utterly perfectly made for the story he fits in. If you're looking forward to more Bleach, let me know in the comments. I know I definitely am. I hope that it doesn't end here. I don't want the Boruto treatment like Naruto got, because that would be god awful. but I do want to see a story for his son. But yeah, there it is. There's my video on Ichigo. To me, the symbol, one of the big three, you know? I mean, you gotta put respect when respect is due. Definitely more videos coming out about the anime big three coming soon, so, you know, stay tuned for that. Well, West Side and I'm out, baby. Peace.